They're jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the boat early on. Like I love getting close and putting up.
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like
We call this the THP World Headquarters.
My grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bowls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
It's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of got a bit of a cold here, so
Yeah, me too.
sorry to the listeners. I guess it's that time of season. Well, it's actually spring. It's nice. It's 21 degrees here, and I don't know, but just maybe, how things are in the spring, everything ramps up, and you kind of just get worn down, lack of sleep, so many things to do, so many things you want to do. Hunting started here in BC, archery, big announcement in archery in the archery world yesterday, building arrows, building bows, you know how it is, training, trying to train. It just, it's a lot to fit in a day.
Yeah, I seen you were building some good arrows. What do you got going on there?
Oh, dude, the never-ending arrows.
Yeah,
So,
you got like 3 different builds.
well, I have a hunting arrow that I built. So
Yep.
for hunting this year, I mean, as the listeners of this show will know, I've shot rib TKO for a long time. This year I'm shooting those HLRs for hunting. I'm shooting the Victory Rip XVs Extreme Velocity for 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor, I'm still shooting the VTAX 23s. For outdoor target, I'm going to be shooting the Victory VAP SS. All 30-inch arrows, like tip, well, not exactly, but carbon to carbon, they're just over 29 and eighth.
Yeah.
And then with the knock on them and the point, they're close to 30. So every arrow is running a 150 point. So for my target arrows, I use glue-ins. And then obviously for hunting, I'm just using an outsert and a screw-in, obviously, because I'm going to be having a broadhead in there. So they're all 150. Been playing around lots with arrow speeds. Vanes are the big issue right now, as you and I and Pete have been talking.
Yeah.
So I had all those saber vanes on those arrows, on a lot of them. Now, love Kyle. Kyle's been on Knock Talk. We went over everything you need to do.
Yep.
I have everything I needed except for one main ingredient, as it turns out, the primer pen.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy saber vanes from Kyle, DAC Custom Arrows, you have to buy the primer pen. So anyway, I fletched all these arrows and all the vanes fell off.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, well, this sucks. So then I pulled everything off, pulled the wraps off, cleaned the arrows, and I put AAV vanes on. The hybrids, which I've been using for a long time. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I've gone 4. This year, I've gone back to 3. I just didn't see any significant difference. Not running fixed blades, so it doesn't matter. I haven't seen any difference in any grouping downrange with 3 or 4.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
No.
So those are on the XVs. I put for the SS, the target arrows I'm doing for 50 meters, outdoor target. Those came pre-fletched with Victory's shield cut vanes, so I didn't touch those. And so Pete, he fletched some of those saber vanes, as you know, with AAE's, Arizona Archery Equipment's primer pen and their glue.
Yep.
And it worked. So I tried it and it worked. Now, when I say it worked, it worked. I went to rip that vane off and it pulled the wrap off with it, like tore the wrap.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though. You have to make sure everything is set up good. You have to make sure you apply the glue to the vane while the primer is still wet on the vane. That's the key. It has to be wet. If you put it on the vane and let it dry, then it dries quick, it evaporates quick, it doesn't work. You have to basically wipe it with the primer pen and then apply your glue and then stick that bad baby on. And don't stick it on, stick it on for no more than 10 seconds. Pull it off. Because one thing when you're running like a small diameter arrow, as you probably know, when you're using like a Blitzenberg and you're running offset with a fair amount of helical, because of the shape of how you're applying it and the shape of the arrow, the contour of the arrow, they don't get full contact, right? Because it's kind of being pulled up by the clamp. So if you lift it off quick enough, you can push it down, and then I just dab it down with my finger. And
You're talking the front?
Yeah, the front.
Yeah.
So you just hold it real quick. I find too, if you just hold it for 5 seconds, pull the clamp off, the veins actually fold down naturally anyway, and they sit.
Instead of you pressing it.
Yeah, then you don't have, because the track wants to pull up on the vein, and if you can either push it down with your finger or naturally sometimes they just fall down. So anyway, that's what I'm running. And I got off work early today, so I started messing around with the chrono, putting those things through, seeing what kind of speed they came up with.
What's your bow specs?
So 29 and 3/8 draw, 73 pounds. Axle to axle doesn't matter. So
that's at Bowtech.
Yeah. They're being shot out of the Bowtech. So the VTAC is running 225 up front. That bow was around 200. It's around 285, 286 I was getting out of that, but that's nearly 500 grains. The Victory Rip TKO is 454 veins, 455. That one's coming in at about, what was that? 286 or 287. I think I sent you the pictures. It was around there.
Yeah.
Those are roughly the speeds. So the XV came in at around 307, 308. I think even one got 309, but around that 307, 308. The HLR was in like 302, 303.
Mm-hmm.
But the big one that surprised me was that VAP SS, the stainless steel, 312 consistent. I even had one that was 321, but I was like, there's no way this is right.
No.
So I kind of just disregarded it in shooting because I was getting like 311, 312. I got one 313, but mostly 311s, 312s, one 310. So safe to say around 312.
Ripping.
Yeah, ripping. So yeah, so that's what's going on in the arrow world anyway right now. Yeah, I don't know.
So how are you testing them? You just doing like a round robin? Just measuring groups, like versing each other?
Yeah, so I did do some testing with the Saber veins and the AAE outside. Now this is kind of an unfair analysis because that Bowtech, that Proven 34, has been paper tuned, line tuned, group tuned to
the AAEs.
The AAE veins.
Yeah.
So for me to go outside and shoot the same arrow, slightly different weight, and expect it to group the same is kind of unfair. So I feel like that's not comparing apples to apples. I think if you're going to do it, you'd have to basically set the bow up, measure your grouping, see what's the most consistent, and then either shoot the bow with the exact same setup, or start all over and tune to those arrows, because you should be tuning each arrow individually and then tuning your bow to the group of arrows you're going to shoot.
Yeah. What's the weight on those sabers? 6 grains?
Something like that. Yeah, 6 grains or something. There's not a lot of difference between them and the AAEs. Like, not enough that's going to matter. You know what I mean? Like 3, maybe 4 grains. But I mean, you can get that. You can get that with just inconsistency in wrap, knock, point, right? Shaft. So not enough where that's going to make any difference. So that's where that's at. What else is going on? It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on this podcast. It's kind of funny getting invited back to a show that you started.
Yeah, I
But
bet
it's
that's
cool, man.
weird.
You're doing good. You're killing it. So yeah, just that Spring Bear Archery World got a big announcement. So for those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't follow target archery, you really should. It will make you a better archer, a better bow hunter. Um, well, not really a better bow hunter, a better shot. I'm gonna say it's gonna make you
Yeah,
a better shot. Being the best thing, the best way to become a better bow hunter is by bow hunting. Just consistently
getting out there.
failing. Yeah, getting out there, failing, learning, adjusting. But yeah, anyway, so now in the Olympics, LA 2028, compound is allowed in the Olympics. So that's pretty cool. So I mean, I'm sure the recurve people are kind of pissed off because to add 12 teams, they had to take away 12 teams from the recurve. So, but it's good
Hmm.
for archery.
Yeah, there's more people shooting compounds in the States at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, for sure. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's 64 for recurve, so they took 12 away. So, I mean, there's still 52
The top
spots. Yeah,
top
there's still
spots. Yeah.
52. Yeah, so
Well, that's
so it's
exciting.
gonna yeah, 50 meters outdoor. It's gonna be a team event, one man, one woman. So it should be good. 12 countries are gonna compete, one team each. So
When is the next
yeah.
Olympics, do you know?
LA 2028.
There you go. That'll be
Yeah.
a huge addition.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. I know in the archery world, it's people are amped up. It's jacked. It's big news. So
Right
exciting
on.
stuff. Yeah, that
Right
and
on.
work and training, I guess. And yeah, bear hunting. Did one weekend of bear hunting. Didn't see anything. Seen more deer than I've seen in a long time, but no bears. A little early.
Yeah, I haven't been out yet. I haven't bothered.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah, it's too early.
howling wind too, and just haven't had much luck early. Just picking up
Yeah,
ticks. That's all I'll see is ticks. Won't see
yeah.
any
There's still
bears
quite a bit
this
of
early.
yeah, a lot of snow up high, so we didn't really see anything. Seen a lot of deer though. That was a good sign. A lot of
Hmm.
whitetails, big group of elk, a lot of mule deer feeding on the grass. Right, we're hitting the south facing slopes. Did a bit of calling, but I've never had any luck calling this early. So I
Hmm.
generally don't hunt bears a lot beginning like this early. But it was just nice to get out. We wanted to pick up a couple trail cameras that we had left out over the winter too, and it's always fun when you leave stuff for the winter because then
Hmm.
it like keeps taking some of those cameras. They obviously they just run out of card space, but you get some good pictures there all the way to like end of January into
Hmm.
February. So it's kind of cool scrolling through those.
Awesome. Awesome. I've been shooting lots too, just having inserts pull out on me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I don't know
kind of
what the hell.
interesting.
Weird.
Like
Really weird.
it did the glue pull off the insert?
It was on the insert.
It just
Yeah,
didn't stick to the arrow.
it just separated somehow.
Oh,
Really
weird.
weird.
Was it old
Really
glue?
weird. And no, new glue. New glue, two-part epoxy.
Five,
So
is it the 5 minute stuff?
no,
No. Yeah,
no, it's the
okay.
slow stuff. And
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
I let it get a little tacky even before I applied
Mhm.
it. And then I set out a tester too, so I knew it was adhered properly and cured properly. Everything was looking good. Really weird.
Yeah. Well, obviously you clean the inside of your shaft.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some
Brushed
people
it.
apparently don't clean the shafts
Yeah,
when they
I seen some of those comments. I was just like, dude, just stop. Why are you
Okay.
wasting your time on this? I commented back and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty critical
Yeah.
to rule out as many variables as you can because carbon doesn't apply strength, it doesn't adhere. It's not like concrete, right?
Well,
The
even concrete, you
resin.
need to clean something like you're adding it to
Yeah,
anything. You
you
want,
scour
yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
still gonna be
You
clean.
clean it and scour it, but like carbon, like if you were to take like its structural integrity, you take the resin, the resin doesn't do anything. So they
Yeah.
structure the carbon. So when they're adhering to one another, like you want that surface prepped,
Yeah. Yeah. And
right?
for the listeners, what Derek and I are referring to is so on YouTube, I started if little plug if you go to Kevin L. Toye, I started doing a lot of videos on there, a lot of shorts, just started doing a lot of videos, and my intention is to start putting up a lot of content on YouTube. Nothing something I'd never really done in the past, but I'm gonna start doing it this year. Gonna cover a lot of 3D and archery stuff. Obviously, there's gonna be hunting involved. And I don't read comments. Comments are one thing I learned with Instagram and that, like you don't let them bug you. So I never read the comments on the YouTube stuff. The only reason I did read that one is because I got a little I always click the bell up there and it said that you had commented on a comment.
Yeah,
So I was
I'm a
like, well, I
petty
gotta go read
bitch.
the comment now. So I did,
I'm
and it,
petty.
yeah, and it was just a comment about I don't even clean the inside, or you don't even need to clean the inside of the arrow shaft. So I was like,
I
okay,
love it
well,
when
hey man,
people talk
whatever
with
way you want to do it,
authority. Yeah, yeah,
whatever way you want to do it, you do it. And like,
yeah. Whatever makes you
I'm
feel
never
good.
gonna tell anybody how they should do anything. I just suggest and share info on how I do things. And now, obviously,
Yeah, and what works for you.
everything I don't do is right, but I got a chuckle out of it anyway. It was
Yeah,
good.
so did I. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice little turning people up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
also have a YouTube that I'm working on here too. Same thing as
Yeah.
Kevin, just the focus hunting
Yeah.
side. So
Yeah.
hop
That's gonna
on
be
there
good.
and check out some stuff. There's some good stuff on there. Kevin's got a bunch of stuff about arrow builds and a little bit of insight on that, bow builds, stuff like that. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of that kind of content. And yeah. No, I seen you got yours up and running, so that's good. So I'll be following along there too. And yeah, no, it's good. I'll put links up too on the webpage. And for the listeners who
Yeah.
don't know, everything is up on the webpage now. We're just waiting for. We got one other new edition coming. We're just waiting for a friend of ours. I'm not going to mention any names, Muck,
Yeah.
um, who's got something else pretty exciting coming out. So that's going to be on there too. But everything for Focus Hunting, Knock Talk, it's all going to be available at focushunting.com, knocktalk.com. Basically, you type in either of those and it brings you to the same page. So
Yeah.
everything's going to be under one umbrella.
Well,
Yeah, man.
to the reason why I brought you on here. I think
Okay.
this is I just went to physio yesterday. Well, actually, this afternoon, but
Yeah. Good. I like
doing
it. I
some
like hearing
stuff
things like
and
that because for the last 2 years I've been telling you, just wait, just wait. So
yeah,
when you
I'm
tell me
aware.
you have aches and pains that don't go away, yes.
That seems like it's like
I
yeah,
get joy out of it. It's
yeah,
funny. It's like when your
everything
friends, yeah,
everything hurts.
who needs enemies when you got friends, right?
Yeah, no, it really hits home though, just what you've been saying. It's happening. Seems like
Yeah,
the
buddy.
closer guys, well, I don't even know if it's age so much as it's just abuse, right? High mileage.
Yeah.
Um, doing pack outs, I think having some sort of baseline physique or baseline fitness is really important, and that's probably gonna shorten the curve between getting into hunt shape and training for the backcountry. I know you're the expert on this field, so um, what I want to ask you though is,
I
if
would I
you
would have to disagree with me being an expert. I mean, I'm probably the expert in injuries, but
well,
uh
consistency is more than anything, right?
well, and that's it too. I think if you're going to do anything, you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be really clear on what your goals are. Like this year, I don't have any big fitness goals. I mean, obviously, I work out almost every day.
Yep.
Last year I was doing a lot of marathon training, so that was kind of my key focus was marathon training prep.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes a toll, right? And like
Yep.
we've talked about it on this podcast before, there's only so much time you have in a day, and as we get, if when we're in our 20s, we don't have any kids. I mean, some people had kids. I mean, some people had kids when they're in their teens, but for the most of us, we had a lot more time in our 20s.
Yeah.
So life wasn't as busy as it is now, and so you don't really learn how to, like in my 20s, I didn't have no perception of time. I just, if I wanted to do something, I just did it.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start to realize like that's the one thing you don't have, and you can't sacrifice any of your family's, anything to do with your family, your kids especially, like any of their activities. You can't step away from any of your obligations, work and stuff like that. Household obligations, cutting the grass, all that stuff. For most of us, we still have to do these things. So you have to be really honest with yourself on like, what are my goals? And that's the way I look at it. Like last year, I had goals of running a marathon. I wanted to get under sub 3 and didn't do it, but um, in doing that, certain things get taken away. Like you have to sacrifice other things. Like my shooting, I didn't shoot nearly as much as I should have,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't hunt as much as I normally do in previous years. So those are things that you have to take into consideration when you're working out and trying to be consistent is like, what can I do? How can I structure a workout where I'm going to be able to do this consistently, not suffer from burnout, which is easy to do,
Yeah.
not impede on what my family has going on, and not impede with any of my obligations. And that is one of the hardest things because for people like you and I and all the others out there that are very like focused, we get tunnel vision very easy.
Yeah.
When we want it, when we do something, it's, well, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. It's easy to put other things on the back burner, but those
Yeah.
things are more actually more important than what your goal is, right? Because those are things that they're the fundamentals of your life, and without those, without your family, without your work, you're not going to be able to do all the things you want to do, right? These are things that we have to do. So that's the biggest thing about being consistent, I think, is just coming up with figuring out how much time you have, what your goals are, and how you can structure something around um, doing it, and not just doing it, but doing it consistently. So whether it's getting up half an hour early in the morning, doing some push-ups and sit-ups and doing a quick workout and doing that every day, and
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? If like for myself, when I was training pretty heavy, so like if I'm going through a real heavy training um, block, I'll be getting up at 4 a.m. training, going
Yeah.
to work, getting home running, and but that doesn't leave a lot of time for recovery and all that other stuff, for shooting and stuff like that, because I still have obligations to do. I still have obligations to take my kids to soccer, to take them to archery, to help coach archery. But in turn, shooting had to take a back seat. I didn't have enough time to shoot the amount of arrows I wanted to. Hunting didn't get, I wasn't doing as much hunting as I have done in the past. Luckily, with hunting, it's the more you do it, the better you get, so the less you have to do it, right? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, I know
you
what
and
you
I,
mean.
we've already put in the work. We don't have to do all the kind of groundwork and like live all the failures. I mean, it's never perfect, but we've kind of already done all that. So it's a lot easier. I mean, it's not easy, but you know what I mean. It's easier than it was when we were just getting started or when we were in our 20s or 30s.
Yeah, I think with that, you just realize you have to give it 100%. As soon as you
Yeah.
just realize you have to give it your all,
Hmm.
and that drives your thoughts of coming into season, getting worried if you're not where you need to be physically,
Hmm.
or getting rid of those aches and pains, dealing with stuff early. That's always in the back of my head. I'm always like a month out thinking, doing that check. Hey, like, am I physically fit enough? Go for a long run, hard run.
Hmm.
See if I got that cardiovascular in check.
Hmm.
Those final things are really going to give you the edge, because I think, at least earlier, like when I was learning and having those failures, I just wasn't committing 100%, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You go into a stock half-heartedly, giving it 80%, 90%, requires 100%,
Yeah, I feel
right?
like when you're hunting, it has to be so like this year, limited time on hunting, that elk hunt, you and I were talking every day when I was elk hunting, when I
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I had a little bit of cell service and we were texting back and forth, but like I had limited time to do it. But those times when I was doing it, it was all like I was there in the dark. I hunted dark till dark, right? And
Yeah.
even before it got light, an hour before it got light. And it was just every minute of daylight I had, I was utilizing to try to get it done. So that was 100% in and out. Now with training, unfortunately, we can't always give it 100%. As much as we'd like to, and as like this is one of the biggest pills I feel like I had to swallow
Mm-hmm.
was learning how to balance what I want to do and what I physically and my body is capable of doing. And like I said, I was the king of injuries, and that was true. And all my injuries that I suffer are from overuse, overwork.
Yeah.
So I work a fairly physical job. I have to keep that in mind, right? I'm laying brick for eight,
Mm-hmm.
9 hours a day. So that has to be taken into consideration with my training. Now, you know, right now I'm not working out in the mornings because what I found was I was too tired for work.
Yeah.
And then it was just so this is a snowball effect. I get up in the morning and I go for, a 19K run. Then I go work for 8 hours. Then I come home, shoot my bow, do stuff around the house, take the kids to soccer, come home, have dinner. Then it's volleyball practice, read stories, go to bed, right? And then I get up at 4 o'clock again and do it again, right? And then I
Yeah.
go to work. And then what happens is slowly decreasing. I don't see any gains, tired all the time. I have no energy. And what I'm suffering from is burnout, right? Because I wasn't being honest with what I'm capable of. I was being honest with what my goals were, but I just wasn't being honest of how I was going to get there. So I overtrained, right? And that's one thing you suffer from burnout. And then what happens? And then you're not recovering properly. Um, you know, Something starts to hurt, and then other parts of your body start to take over. And then that's when injuries happen, right? Overuse injuries happen. And I suffered a lot of that. So, now my training is a lot smarter. I do less, and I find actually less is more. If I
Yeah.
feel, I try to reserve energy for work too, because that's a big thing. Not being a zombie at work makes a big difference, right? Getting the job done properly. You can get it done faster. Actually, you can get more done in a day in less time and then have more time to train, actually, if you're a little more rested. So that was a big, in the last couple of years, I think in the last year especially, that was one of the biggest things I learned is just, being honest about what I'm capable of, not what I want to do, not what I think I can do mentally, because mentally, man, I could just keep going, right? That's
Yeah.
not the part. It's just the part that, unfortunately, we all might feel like Superman, but we're not, right? Our body needs time to recover, and that's when things happen, right? Injuries, overuse, and I mean, I know you're suffering it with your shoulder right now, and like elbows, and like it's those aches and pains, like you're just talking. Like all of a sudden, when you're in your 20s, you get an ache and a pain, you're like, whatever, I'll go drink some beer, and 2 days it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Once you start getting a little older, that pain just never goes away. It's just there, and then one day you just forget it's there, and you just keep going. You're like, oh yeah,
That's just
it's
normal.
part,
That's
it's
the
part of me
normal.
now. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I know us blue collar hunters, that's something that I've always like even like young guys at the shop and stuff like that, like we pull wrench for a living.
Hmm.
And I've built myself into a very physically fit individual, but
Hmm.
every time I'm peaking out where I'm hitting that next level, I would always uh, overtrain. I wouldn't have
Hmm.
any deloading phases or cycles, and like hit my physical like strongest, lowest body fat. It's the injuries that are the setbacks. That's all. That's
Yeah.
what it always was, right?
Hmm.
It was always some wrist problem or a rhomboid back injury. I actually did that because I used to do powerlifting back in the
Hmm.
past, and we're just doing too heavy too often. That's something I've talked
Hmm.
to you about. Just getting back in the training. I'm back up to 3 plates right away,
Yeah.
but I didn't allow that time for my body to catch up. Just because you can
Hmm.
do it doesn't mean you should be doing it every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah, dude.
Um,
100. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing, like, with running, I don't need to run 20 kilometers every day to run 20 kilometers. I can actually
yeah,
run less. So now that shifted a lot too. And I found like, and it was always one of those things. It's like, well, though, in order to run further, faster, I just got to run further, farther, harder, and more often. Well, that's actually not the case, you know. And then
Mm-hmm.
so you learn to what you can do and what your body can do while still maintaining everything else. And that's what I'm talking about, being honest with yourself. And you're going to find you're going to get a lot more gains because, like, even for running, in instance, we're just going to use running because I love to run. So, like, if I ran 5K every day,
Yeah.
oh, I would be running more than I would be if I ran 20K 5 days in a week and then I got injured and I was out for 2 weeks. Or if I ran, 10K every day for a month and then I had an injury and I'm out for, I blow my hip,
Yeah.
and which I've done, right? And then you're out for 6 months, right? And now when you get back, you're starting at zero. But that injury you have is always on the back of your mind, and it doesn't take much to flare back up. So little things like that. And you start to learn too. And like right now, I'm not training for anything other than, just to be in shape. I don't like being out of shape. I find, the best way to get in shape for the backcountry is just to never get out of shape, right? It's always just to stay in shape. And then you never, like, when hunting season comes up, I'm not like, oh, I got to get in shape. Nothing changes in my physical. I don't change my workout routine at all. I do the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I just do this year round, day in, day out, right? And I don't work out every day. Um, you know, I I try to be as consistent as possible, but some days if I, go to work and we just move 10,000 pounds a block and I want to shoot my bow, then that's it, right? That's good enough for today, right? And then tomorrow I'll go for a run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some days when I do feel real good, and I do push harder, right? Some days I'm like, well, I have a 13K run scheduled for today, but you know what? I'm gonna do that extra little loop around the garbage dump, and that's an extra seven. Or I'm running 440 for 19K, but the last 5K I'm feeling really good, so I'm like, well, I'm gonna try to
Let's push it.
push that 3 minute
Yeah.
marker for the last little bit, and I do that, right? Um, but always try to keep it within the boundaries. And so if I do go hard one day and I'm feeling it, then I'll just ease off the next day. So if I'm like, oh man, that run, my knees are kind of sore this morning. Yeah, I put the ice packs on my knees, and if I have a run scheduled, instead of going 7K, I'll go 5K, right? I just won't push it. And that's one thing I've learned too, just to maintain that consistency. And I found that the biggest thing is just like, it's better to do little more often than do a whole lot and then get hurt and be out.
I literally have that arch for like in my 20s. I
Yeah.
get in wicked shape. Like I'm 250, I got abs, I'm looking like a bodybuilder. Boom, get an injury. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I put in all this work. I'm done. Now
Yeah.
I got six months. Some of these injuries they take up to a year to fully
Yeah.
be back on
Yeah.
top of like where you're at as far as mobility. I
Hmm.
remember I had 2 years just from work and just pushing it way too hard too often. I was doing incline dumbbell press, 120 pound dumbbells. I was
Yeah.
up to 12 reps. I do like
Wow.
12, two to three sets. And I just had one of my spots come down and it just was a little shaky, and pulling wrench for a living, my wrists are always on that edge of fatigue and sprain and
Hmm.
strain constantly, carpal tunnel, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I just had a little shift. That's all it took. And just boom, now I got a wrist problem. It's
Yeah.
like great. Now
There
I
it is.
went, I think it was almost 2 years where I couldn't turn my palm
Hmm.
fully to my face with weight on it, right? So it's better to plan for this gradual. I think that's what I learned is this gradual incremental increasing and hit a good weight as far as like your weights and stay there for a while
Yeah. Exactly.
and
Yeah.
listen to your body.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to tone it down either. If things, if you're
Yeah,
getting tired, you have a pain
pile
in
on
your
you.
shoulder, lower it down. Like I don't
Yeah.
lift. Now I'm 46. I don't lift heavy, and I don't mind it. You know what I mean? So right now my workout routine is I do 2 runs. I do a lower body, which includes it does calves, hamstrings,
Hmm.
quads, hips, mobility. I try to incorporate mobility and some strength training into it, both. Um, And then I do an upper body workout where I'm doing core, arms, chest,
Yep.
shoulders, back, neck. And then, then I'll go back to 2 runs and then legs and day. And I don't take a day off. I'll keep rolling that until I
Mm-hmm.
feel I need a day off. So if I'll keep going on that cycle, it might be 20 days in a row, but then, all of a sudden I'm like, man, I'm pretty fucking gassed today. I had a hard day at work today, or, something came up, or I need a day off. Then I'll go down and I'll do some like foam roller, I'll do some medicine ball, I'll do some stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like just try to hit the pain that hurts, and I'll focus on shooting. And that was one of the big things this year I was really wanted to do, was to try to improve my shooting. Like I have a goal of 30 X's, right? So um it's kind of funny. Pete and I were actually talking about this last night, I think. Like I probably shot about 300 arrows yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I think I'm actually getting worse. I feel like I'm getting worse. And I'm suffering from the same thing, right? Like just that mentality of like, I get up in the morning and I'll shoot 3 Vegas rounds, and then I'll go to work, come home, shoot outside, do what I got to do. And then I'll sneak in another round before bed. Like after this podcast, I'll go shoot probably 3 rounds of Vegas. And somewhere in there, you're getting mentally fatigued, right? It's like one
Yeah.
of those things, like I'm not shooting a lot of poundage. I'm not, 300 arrows when you've been shooting your bow as long as I have, it's not that big of, it's not that much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the mental fatigue too, right? And you can get that in a lot of things, right? And you can get that in hunting, or you can get it in, just day-to-day life. I mean, it's good to do it's good to do hard things, that way you can kind of overcome that, especially in a hunting situation. But like we're only going hunting for 10 days usually, right? 15 days at the
Yep.
most. So that's not that sustainable. But when you're trying to do it, 6, 7, 8 months,
Yeah.
it starts to wear on you too. And then that's when you can bring it into your household, and then that's when shit really hits the fan.
Yeah, and you can get like I know with shooting, like especially when I used to do a ton of rounds with my turbo, man, you can get into some very unproductive, frustrating training.
Yeah.
Uh, just it's just you're not productive. You get that fatigue set in, your groups start opening up, and then it's almost like you're building bad habits,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You're no
Yeah.
longer training. Like there is a point where yeah, you want to get the ends up, your end numbers up, just to get your muscles up to snuff. But that should
Mm-hmm.
be getting into target or into the summer, not the bulk of your training routine, right?
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
just shut her down after that. I would just get used to, okay, like if I'm trying to pump the numbers up, not require that much of my groupings at the end, right? But always
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I'm stopping on a high point.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, for me right now, it's not a numbers thing. I'm not really concerned of how many I'm shooting. I'm just concerned on how I'm shooting. And
Yeah,
so
like the quality.
the quality, and if I'm shooting bad, I don't quit until I'm shooting good. And I think that's where
Yeah,
I really fall into like these high numbers. But again, it's like I'm not getting sore. I'm not worried about getting injured shooting too many arrows. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so when I'm shooting those 300 arrows, I'm not shooting the 75-pound bow. I'm shooting like that bow's 58 pounds,
yeah.
right? When I'm shooting the Vegas face inside, when I go outside, I'm shooting what I'm going to be shooting. But inside, I'm shooting lower poundage. So I'm not worried about that, but it's just a mental thing, right? And I have to go back to with like what I was saying earlier is like, okay, like I have to really analyze like how am I going to get to where I want to, because with the way I'm doing it, it's just not working. Like the highest score I got was a 300 with 21 X's. And then, I've shot really good. I've had like 28 X's, and then it's like 2 9s, or
Yeah.
somewhere in there, it's 2 9s, right? And then, so you're like a 298 with 28 X's. You're like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's my goal this year. My goal is I'd like to be able to sit at home and shoot around a 900 with 90 X's. Like, um, that's my goal. So, and in doing that, you know, fitness is still there, but it's kind of, it's
It's
not
a give
like
and
it
take.
was. It's
Yep.
give and take, exactly. And that's what we kind of started this conversation off, is like being honest with what your goals are, right? But I mean, still, I train every day. You only need 45 minutes to get a good workout,
Yeah, I think
other than a
that's
long run.
yeah. I think that's the secret is to make sure whatever you're doing, just make sure it's intense.
Yeah.
Because if you're so fatigued you can't be intense, then you're not increasing that threshold to get that training effect, right?
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
just going through the motions. And sometimes that can be helpful, right? If you're
Yeah.
trying to push certain numbers, but um yeah, just living in that intensity, like not being so fatigued to the point that you can't get the intensity. That's
Hmm.
one thing that I've always noticed is if I need to cut it to four to 5 days, and that's what I got to do, right? A week.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, for the guys that are working every day, the blue collar guys like you and I, you can't, you got to listen to your body, man. And like
Yep.
45, if you're pulling a wrench or swinging a hammer, or roofing, drywalling, or painting, or, masonry or landscaping, whatever it is you're doing, mechanic, you're doing a lot in a day to begin with, right? And so your workout is going to be slightly different, right? It's going to be on recovery, like a lot of it should be on balancing out other parts of your body. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're swinging a hammer all day, you got a pretty good, or you're carrying shingles up a ladder, you got a pretty good core workout, right? You don't have to hit that as hard. Your legs are
Yeah.
probably, pretty strong. A lot of the things that we do in our day-to-day life have made us strong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go to the chiropractor and they're like, man, the muscles in your back are freaking next
Yeah.
level. Like, they're insane, right? So I don't have to hit those muscles. I don't train those muscles, right? I do back, but I do different parts of the back. And a lot of the back I do it is like mobility, stretching, and I
Yeah.
incorporate that with the weights as well, right? I'm not focused on lifting heavy. I find 10 to 15 reps is pretty good. And just doing
Yeah.
what you say. So like when I'm doing my upper body workout, I'll do like just for instance, I'll do like a chest, a back, and a core workout, right?
Yeah.
I'll do one right after the other, and then I'll take like a 30 to 45-second break, and then I'll go again. No breaks in between muscle or body part. And then that gets the intensity up, right? And that allows me to get them done in 45 minutes. But I tell you, like when the 45 minutes is done, I'm sweating. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not on my phone, like the TV's going or there's music going, but I'm not on my phone, right? It's like, you know, it's just do it, get it done. And I just focus on getting it done and as fast as I can so I can get on with the other things that I want to do in a day. And it's usually now, I mean, for lifting weights, 45 minutes. Legs are a little longer, they're about an hour, just because I'm doing quite a bit of, hip mobility and strengthening too.
Yeah.
And that adds a little bit to it. A couple more exercises involved with the lower body. And then when a run, I mean, runs anywhere. I try to do at least one or two long runs a week, which are about an hour and a half, right? If you're doing
Mm-hmm.
the 20K. And then the other runs that I have going on, again, it's all how I feel. I mean, sometimes I just, if I'm feeling, tired one day and I know I'll run a little less to run more the next day, or I'll push it hard one day and then on my next run, I'll go a little lighter, right? Just so I don't have two hard runs back to back, and then I go to do legs, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy fuck, my legs are gassed. I got nothing left in my tank for my legs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I used to train too, was just I used to do isolation training,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
biceps, triceps, like just really isolating. And
yeah,
I've learned that to be like to have a better overall physical composition of having a lot more full body stuff,
mm-hmm.
deads, cleans, stuff like that, really dynamic athletic movements helped me overall be more balanced instead
Mm-hmm.
of overdeveloping and then having that uh, imbalance that can cause an injury, right?
Yeah,
I think I think too, just like you say though, I think the strongest and the most physically fit I've ever been in my life was always centered around listening to my rep range because you don't feel 100% every day, right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
I might follow my weights and I'm sticking to those weights, but the reps, I'll go until I feel burning and then that's where I start counting. I'm not forcing myself to hit 15 if I don't have it in me. I'm not forcing myself to hit 12 if I don't have it. Just because of the nature of our jobs. It's just
Yeah, for sure.
important just to listen to that, because if you overdo it too, to the point that you can't train, like I know I'll go out with my brother and we'll hit legs like maniacs, do like 7 sets of squats and just put up crazy numbers, and I can't work out for a week. Like my legs are
Yeah,
cooked. Like I'm at the point where, it wouldn't be uncommon where I feel like I'm gonna throw up in the parking lot
yeah,
going home.
yeah.
Like
Or you
that
go to work the next day and you're a puddle, right? And
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
guys
exactly.
are like,
Well,
"What the fuck is wrong with you, man?" Like, hey,
yeah.
do your job. And that's another thing you got to think of too, right? Like it's
Yeah.
you got to think of your career, and so and it's easy to fall in these traps too. And I know I've done it, right? You go, especially if you're watching a lot of social media and you're following guys that they sleep 12 hours a day.
Yep.
They're not working. They're not turning wrenches. They're getting up
They're in an
at 8 or 9 o'clock. They're having
Yep.
breakfast. They train from 10 to 12. They come home, probably have a nap, watch some TV, eat, maybe do some training again. Their life is a lot different. And that's what it comes down to, is like being
Yeah.
honest with, like, what am I capable of? Do I
Yeah.
have
What's
enough
my
time? Like,
situation?
yeah, what's my situation? Do I have enough time to do this and allow my body to recover so I can do it again the next day? Well, fuck no, I don't, because I got to go sit here and turn wrenches for 8 hours. So
Yeah.
that's
And
out.
doing it in a way where you're not fighting with your wife. You're not
Well,
letting your
that's a big
kids
thing too,
down,
right? Yeah,
because
that's a
when
huge
we
thing.
get to season where you don't have a pissed off wife and the kids are all mad at you, when you
Yeah.
go out to hunt, you wanna have that support system that's gonna allow you to be a lot more effective out there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you not have to worry about it at home. But again, like our goals, especially with our kids, our goals can't impede, you know, anything to do with our children. Like their goals and their and things that their sports, extracurricular activities, their school academics, all that
That takes
stuff.
priority.
As a parent, we need to put that ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So these goals we have, and like for me, and I know for you, and for many of the other people who listen to this show, hunting is a way of life, right? It's we put food on the table for our families. We're providing, right? Yes, I mean we obviously love chasing big mule deer and big bears and big bucks, big bulls, but at the end of the day, if it came down to like shooting a cow, elk, or not shooting an elk, I'd shoot a cow elk
Yeah.
because I have to put food on the table, right? And that's being part of providing for your family, and my family knows that. So I feel like with hunting, you know, hunting is a big part of our family's life, and so um, that's okay, in terms of like me leaving and them being okay with that. But everything else, for sure, 100%. If I have goals of running a marathon or, you know, doing better in archery, those are my goals. They can't
Yeah.
have any effect on what my kids and what my family does. And again, they can't take away from any of the duties that I have to do, right? Because I mean, it's one of those things you start taking it out of one cup to put into another, and then all of a sudden, like, this is your life cup here on the left, and you've constantly been taking
Yeah.
quarters and pennies out of it, filling up, your ambition cup, and then all of a sudden, your support cup's empty, right? You got nothing left in it, and now you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, what am I gonna do, right? People at your job are pissed off for you if you're running your own business. You got no customers anymore because you put so much time and energy into this one thing. You kind of let everything fall. And it's easy to do, man. I've done it. I've gone halfway through things and being like, fuck, dude, I got to snap out of this. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I got to focus on, I got to go back and pay attention onto this thing that has made me or given me the
Yeah.
opportunity to do this other thing that I love to do or that I want to do or have aspirations of doing.
Yeah. Life's a piggy bank, man.
It is.
You got
It
to put
is.
some deposits in there. You can't just withdraw all the
Yeah,
time,
man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think about that all the time, when I'm doing these deeds, it's like that's bow hunting right there.
Mhm.
I'm earning those opportunities with my family. I'm
Yeah.
earning the respect to take the time off when I'm working my ass off at work. So when you take your time off, you're like, hell yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
he deserves that time off. And you're going to get that with your family too, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure. If you're spending, you got to spend that quality time with them, as well as doing your doing work hard and them seeing you work hard. You have to do that. But like I was saying, if you want to, if you expect to, and like I think you said it too, if you expect to go hunting, but for the last 4 months you've been focused on this other goal and you haven't
yeah,
been spending any time with your family, good fucking luck. You could go hunting, but you're gonna have a shitty time when you get back. It's like, you know, life keeps clicking. When we go out hunting
yeah,
for a week, life still keeps rolling. It keeps rolling and rolling, and it's one of these things. Like, I don't know about you, but for like myself, when I go hunting, I don't like it to be a big deal. I like to slip out the back door, and I want everyone just to keep doing what I've always like what they're gonna do when I'm gone, right? Or what
yeah,
we've always done. So, especially when you have little kids, my kids are getting bigger now, so it's not too big of a deal. But when they're little, you don't have that big crying moment and all that stuff because it kind of, it gets to you, it chokes you up, right? And then it's
hmm
like it's hard to deal with when you leave. So it was always like sneaking out the back door. But then when I get home, I'd expect this big applaud and like, oh, daddy's home, here we go, right? Blah blah blah.
mm-mm.
But how can you have one without and expect something, how can you expect one thing and then expect something completely opposite when you get back? You can't. And that took a bit for me to learn that, right? It took me a bit for me to learn like, hey, if you want to sneak out the back door and, life to continue on without you, when you get back, you have to understand that life for the last week or 2 weeks has gone on the same without
Yeah.
you when you've been gone. And now, just because you're home, it ain't going to be any different. We're going to do this. It's going to be exactly the same. And that was a big adjustment. Trying to fit in, feel that role. And I know you've gone through it too, because I know you have kids and you have a new little one at home. So you're going to end up going through all that again. So,
Yeah, it's weird because I think if I were to look back at how I used to hunt and then now when I have my wife and that support system,
mhm,
that really intensified my success. Just
mhm,
knowing I can just focus on this one thing ahead of me, just the hunt,
mhm.
instead of everything going on in the background, worried about the kids. Are they getting where they
Yeah,
need to go?
yeah,
Are they going to make it to that practice? All that. That's all taken care of. Like having a plan for the
mhm,
home life stuff. Like obviously they're doing what they're normally doing, but making sure everything is nice and smoothed out, running top notch before you leave. Your honey-do lists are all done.
mhm.
Um, that was really
And you get
important.
there you get that support system by making those deposits, right? Like you
Yeah,
said, not just constantly taking withdrawals, but when you're home, you're doing the work that you need to do to get there.
yeah, absolutely. Because I know for myself, when I'm in the hunt, I can only think about one thing. And that's
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
not I'm not trying I'm not worried. I'm not shutting her down before last light, right? Because that's what it takes. It's just you got to go absolute to the maximum.
Yeah.
And like you say, don't expect a warm welcome when you come back sometimes. I've come home and wife's got the dog. Here's the dog. Here's the baby. I'm beat to a pulp
Yeah, yeah.
because I just
Yeah.
got my ass handed to me like three stalks in a row on
Hmm.
mule deer. I'm sunburnt. I'm dehydrated. I'm dead. Here's the baby.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's an
It's a
interesting life we
sacrifice.
live. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
and
right?
it's a sacrifice that we make, but again, it's one of those things like, do we need to go on a hunt for that long to be effective? No,
No, that's
we
why it's
don't.
important to do this training, to find the time to be your very best. So when
Mhm.
you're out in the field, I'm getting it done in 2 to 3 days. I'm getting it
Yeah.
done in one day, 4 hours,
Well,
whatever it
well,
takes.
yeah, and
Being
exactly,
very
and I think
efficient with your time, right?
and I think it goes back to kind of where we started the conversation of fitness off is, um, building a consistent program. So and staying in shape year round, right? Don't go into this. Don't wait
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks before the season. Go balls out right before you're going to go on a big hunt, and then realize you're on a hunt, and now you're dead tired, and now you can't hunt hard, right? You want to be calloused before you get to that hunt. You want to be calloused year round. You want to be in shape year round. So when you get to go on these hunts, or you're making a stalk, or you're out for 10 days, your body's adapted to this. You're used to this. This is just like every other day for the last year that you've been doing things, right? You're not doing anything different. Every day for the last year, you've trained. Yeah, you've taken a day off here, but your body's adjusted. It's calloused. It doesn't mind being beat up a little bit. It can overcome hard things. It could overcome adversity. It could keep going, right? So yeah, that's really important. I find is that's why I find staying in shape year round, build a consistent program that you can do, and I think it has to be something you love. You have to enjoy doing it. So like if you like running, then run. If you don't like running, don't run. You don't need to run to hunt. You don't need to lift weights to hunt. Like if you lifted weights for a month of the year and then decided to start running, yeah, you'd be ready for a hunt. But if you did something that you enjoyed doing, like hiking, you can add some weight to your pack eventually, right? If you like swimming every day, swim. Yeah. You're going to be in so much better shape when you go for a hunt because you've been doing something that you've been enjoying to do. You've been getting physical activity. You've been callousing your bodies. And the thing about training is when you train and you like to do something, whether it's weightlifting, running, you're going to find you can't just run. Like I can't just run. I have to build strength in other places to make up for that are lacking, right? Or else you get injuries again, right? This is how you get injuries. You have to work on flexibility. You have to work on balance, core strength, all these things that will make you a better runner. Those are going to help you in the backcountry, right? All these little things that you're working on throughout the year are inevitably going to make you that much better in the backcountry because like you're going to be able to hunt for 3 to 5 days. You're not going to get tired. You're going to be flexible. You're going to be limber. Your body's going to be able to recover fast, right? That's one thing, when the more you train, the faster your body recovers. I mean, obviously, as you age, it slows down a little bit. And if you're, sleep, food, all that stuff plays a big role in it too, obviously, I know. But I mean, for the most part, if you're training, if you're in shape, your body's going to adapt and be able to recover better.
And just being in a certain level of shape, I think that you don't cut corners when you shouldn't, especially if you're a bow hunter.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
If you look up that hill and it's steep as shit and that's the only option you have to make the kill, to make it happen, you can't have anything in the back of your head. When you're going through the motions of building a plan, training, committing, doing those tasks, those requirements to get into that shape, you're also hardening the mind to do uncomfortable things on the regular, and you're just mentally tougher. Like I know, like for me, I climb for a living, and that's like the number one thing. You don't want to climb. It sucks. And you do it, that's the first thing you do. The first thing you do in the morning.
Ladder, getting that shaft.
Yeah, you climb 300 feet. And we used to do it free climbing all the time, 3 to 5 times a day. So you're just used to doing things are going to suck. That is going to be really hard, and you have to do them. Yeah. But when you get out in the field, it's just like working out. You do the things, it's going to suck. You don't think about it. Yeah. You're disciplined.
Well, and it's, I've never
do it. So when it's pissing down rain, slippery as shit, you're tired, but you see this opportunity up ahead where you can get it done day one to kill a bull elk. You're going to push hard to the top, make it happen. You're not gonna quit. You're not gonna complain. Maybe, okay, I'm not seeing any elk. I gotta switch spots. Or I could sit here and pound it out for 3 days solid, wasting a bunch of time because I'm not seeing elk. Instead of just
because you're comfortable.
Yeah. Getting into the mental space of I have to do this. Just get on with it. Yeah, and that's what training does for your brain.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I one of the things that, and it's funny, like I've tried to explain this to Pete because I know Pete hates running. Like running at the beginning sucks. Nobody likes running. And even when you've been doing it a long time, your body always still says, hey, let's stop. But what the beautiful part about running is that every time you go for a run, for the most part, when you go for a run, your body wants to tell you stop, but you're like, fuck you, and you do it anyway. And then you don't stop and you get to a destination. And you're like, yeah, I didn't stop. Right. And the next time you do it, it gets easier. Right. And it gets easier. Yeah. Then you push the limit. Then you go a little further. Right. So you go from 2 kilometers. Now you run to 5 kilometers. That whole other 3 kilometers, your body's like, no, we gotta stop, we gotta stop, we gotta stop. Oh, you're gonna get injured. You're gonna get injured, right? It's telling you that little guy on your shoulder's telling you to stop, and you don't listen to him, and you just keep going, right? I don't want to get up. I don't want to lift weights after work today. I had a hard day. I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to do push-ups, or I don't want to go for a swim or a bike ride, because I'm already tired. But when you do it anyway,
Yeah.
right? That builds you, that's where you start to build momentum, and you just keep doing it. And you do this for a period of like, it's not doing it for a week either. It's not even doing it for a month. It's when you do it for over a consistent time period that you start to develop that innate instinct to just do it. And then that carries on to where like when I'm going for when I'm on hunt, I don't, the last thing on my mind is like how far anything is or how
Yeah.
high it
Same.
is or how
Yeah.
hard the pack out's going to be.
Yeah.
That's never been in a question in my mind ever. Is
No,
like, how hard is this pack out going to be?
doesn't
Who the
matter.
fuck cares?
Yeah.
I don't care. How hard is it going to be to get up over that next ridge or two
Doesn't
ridges
matter.
over or three ridges over? I don't know. It doesn't matter, but we got to go there, right? We got to go now, right?
Yeah.
If we got to go all night to hunt in the morning, then that's what you got to do. You're going to be tired the next day. Yes. It's going to suck, right? But you just do it. And then but by doing these little things year round on a constant basis, those big things don't seem that big, right? Because you're constantly putting yourself into things that you don't want to do. Because it's really easy to not work out. Like even myself, there's days where like, man, I really do not want to go for a run, or I don't want to do legs, or I don't want to train, but you do it anyway, right? Um, and then again, there's that fine line of like, am I just being a pussy here? And this is probably the thing I struggle with the most is like determining that fine line between like what I want to do and what I should do.
Yeah.
Where it's like some days are so hard and you're like, man, I don't really want to train, but I will. And then sometimes they're like, man, my hips kind of bugging me, or like this my knees bugging me, but I really feel pretty good and I'm gonna go on a run anyway. And then you get 3 kilometers and you're like, yeah, that knee pain's not going away.
Yeah.
I should probably just turn around and come back. That was the hardest part of me for me, is like trying to define whether it's just like, is this an injury or is this like,
Am I a pussy?
am I a pussy, right? Is this
Same.
just
Yeah.
like pain?
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
pain or is this injury pain? What is this? And then that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing, is like learning, no, I'm good, right? And
Yeah.
now, I mean, now I can do a lot of exercises. Like I'll do a warm up and stuff, and I know how I feel before I go for a run. Or I usually now know that within the first couple of kilometers
Yeah.
how my body's feeling. And then I kind of, I can throw an audible and just change it there. But, in the past, I was always just like, no, I'm just being a pussy. I just got to keep running. I got to keep running. I got to keep running. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, that's not right. That popping noise,
Hmm.
probably not a good thing. Why is it all warm? Why do I feel the instant pain here?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And then the next day you can't get out of bed. So, that fine line too. But like I said, it's just like for guys, the guys that work, and for the guys who aren't training or looking to get into training, I always say just find something you enjoy doing. And if you don't know, just try everything, right? It just starts by getting up, though. Get up 15 minutes earlier, do 15
Yeah.
push-ups, 20 sit-ups.
Yeah.
Do that every
Start
day.
slow, and work
Yeah.
your way up, right? Do something. Just get moving.
Yeah,
If
and
you
build a habit too. That's why I say do something small. If you've never trained before, and all of a sudden you're 35 or 36 and you realize like, oh man, I got to start getting in shape here, because you know it's mule deer are less and less, opportunities are getting less and less, right? Hunting's getting harder, um but they're looking for some way of getting into it and building a routine. Like, how can I do something to be consistent? Well, in order to be consistent, I find you need to do something every day for 30 days. As somebody who's never trained or been really inconsistent in their training, what they need to do is find something they can do every day for 30 days, and that will build a habit, right? You start forming a habit that way, a good habit. Like, we always build habits, in which, like, it always seems it's like either going to veer to the left, which is a bad habit, or veer to the right, which is a good habit. But everything we do throughout the day is like building it's a fork in the road to
Yeah.
a good or bad habit. So
Yeah,
like
you don't
find
really stay the same, right? Like you're either getting better or you're getting lazy. That's what
yeah,
I like.
exactly. Yeah.
It's quite literally that's all there is to it. You're either having motivation to get the things done, to
Yeah.
prioritize either
Or
your
you're
health,
creating excuses not to
yeah,
do it.
or you're just not doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no middle ground,
Mm-mm. No,
right?
there's not. I mean, there is injuries, but even when you're injured, you should be doing things to recover, right? What do I need to do to recover? Either it's physio, is it just rest? Is it ice? Is it heat and ice? Then do that. Don't
Yeah.
just sit and do nothing, right? Like heat and ice, is this going to help? And just constantly be working, constantly make moves to the right? Steer to the right so you can constantly build those good habits. And so, anyway, so if you can find something you like to do for 30 days every day, whether it's get up half an hour early, do some push ups and sit ups, but just do those every day for 30 days. For the first week, it's going to suck.
You're gonna be
Second
in
week,
really
it's
good
not going to be
shape
that
though.
bad. Yeah. Third week, it's going to be like, okay, this is just what I do now. And the fourth week, you're going to be doing twice as many push ups and
Yeah.
twice as many sit ups. And now you're going to have a habit. Now that snowball is starting to gain momentum going down the hill. Now it's like, okay, now what do I need to do to build this into a regular routine? And then break it into another 30 days. Okay, how am I going to transition this into something long term? Okay, well, this is maybe when you need to, hire a trainer or something, or just there's a lot of stuff now that you can get good information on how to train, right? But make sure it's something you like to do, because if you enjoy doing it, you're going to keep doing it. If it's something you don't do but you feel you should do, you're going to do it and then quit. You're
Yeah,
not
the
going to keep
hardest
doing
part
it.
is just getting moving, right? Like starting. You were
Yeah.
doing nothing, now you're doing something. That's
Yeah.
the hard part.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
Once you do
And
that,
do
you
it
can add on
consistently.
elements, right? You're doing it
Absolutely.
consistent. You can
Yeah.
add on new elements. You can add different splits. You can start going to the gym. If you're just
Yeah.
doing it at home, you
Mhm.
can run farther, start doing cardio, start doing stair stepper, add elements into it. It's
Mhm.
at starting. That's
Yeah,
the hard
it's an
part.
evolution too, and it's always changing. You're always going to adapt. You're always going to learn. You might start off doing push-ups and sit-ups, but then you're going to get into like running and realize you don't like running, but then maybe you'll try like CrossFit,
Yeah.
and then you'll love CrossFit, or what's that new one now? Freaking Nate's right into it.
Oh, the
Nate
hybrid
Illingsworth.
athlete thing.
Oh, hey, Nate Illingsworth is the hybrid athlete,
Yeah.
hands down. He's hands down the hybrid athlete. He should be athlete of the year, I think, that guy. 100% athlete of the year.
And he's funny doing it. If you
Yeah,
were so
High Rocks, that's what it's
yeah.
called, isn't it? High Rocks? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't know what the difference between that CrossFit is. I've never really been
I
into
think it's
CrossFit.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to each their own. I'm not, not nothing's better or worse.
No.
Fucking doing push-ups and sit-ups every day for the rest of your life, you're going to be better off than not doing anything.
Yeah, than sitting on the couch.
Exactly. Or just
Yeah.
not doing them. Yeah.
So
Even if you just do that.
if you were to rewind all the way to the starting point of when you, like you had said, I know you've told this story on other podcasts before, of where you just decided, hey, I'm feeling shitty all the time. I want to start getting in shape. Really got to start prioritizing my health. What would you do different now that you know everything that you've done, injuries, everything? If this is more for the guys that are a little bit older and they're trying to get into shape and they're trying to start up. What would you have done differently?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like not what I would do differently, because it's just what have I learned? Like, what do
Yeah.
I know now that I didn't know then? Because obviously,
Yeah.
if I did anything different, I wouldn't be in the same position I am now. But like, what I do differently from what I do now is being honest with what my goals are and what my abilities are.
Yeah.
Right. Again, it goes down to time and setting. It's like no problem. You can set any goal in life you want. You're never too old to create goals. You're never
Yeah.
too early, or never too old to set goals. You're definitely never too old to reach goals. Like fuck, man, there's people 70 years old running the Boston Marathon, right? You're never too old
Mm-hmm.
to do any of that stuff. You just have to be honest with how you're going to get there. When you have if you have more time in the day, if you have a lot of time to rest, recover, like we said, if you have all that time, you're going to be able to get there a lot faster than a guy who has to go turn wrench for 8 hours a day and then
Mm-hmm.
come home and then have other things to do and has 3 kids. We just don't have the time to do all the things that somebody else in a different situation might. And so, like, there's that saying, com comparison's the thief of joy, and it really is, right? It's a
Yeah.
thief of everything, right? Because if you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else and what somebody else is achieving, you're going to lose the joy in yourself trying to accomplish and achieve the goal that you're setting, because that's the real reward, is the journey of getting there. Everything that you've overcome. When you set goals for yourself and you set these obstacles and hurdles, you never really remember the climax. You remember all the hard work and everything you put, all the elements, mostly the failing. You remember all the
Mm-hmm.
fall downs you've had and just getting up and keeping going. That's what you remember, right? You never really, when it's funny, like, people who on the outside looking in, like I look behind you and I look at that moose, right? I look at that elk or the antelope. And I know I could ask you and be like, what was that? Tell me about that bull. You're not going to tell me about just shooting the bull. You're gonna tell me about the stalk you did and like
Yeah.
you blew 5 stalks and like, oh man, it sucked. It was piss and rain and I was bleeding and I was tired, and you're gonna tell me about all that stuff, right? The journey getting to it. That's where the reward is. So, anyway, to back up to your question, yeah, just, be honest with yourself, build a plan and stay the plan, and just, don't be afraid if it takes you 3 years, 4 years. And that was always my biggest fear, I think, was like I got to a certain point in my life and I realized, hey man, I probably have less years ahead of me than I have behind me. Right? We
Yeah.
all get to that point where we're like, fuck man, I'm going the opposite way here. Um, and so you start thinking, be like, man, I got to get this done because I'm not going to have time to do it. I'm getting too old. I'm going to be 50 soon. All these things start going to your
Yep.
head. So you're like, I got to go now. It's got to be now, 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 right? And then you just keep pushing harder and harder. And when you have a mentality like we were saying at the beginning, like yourself, like me, and like a lot of other people, it's kind of that all-in mentality. Man, you just go, 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 right? Because mentally you're strong enough to do it, but unfortunately our bodies aren't. And then
Yeah.
that's when stuff starts to break down. Either if it's not your body breaking down, it's your relationship with your wife or your kids or your relationship at work or your customers or your clients. That starts breaking down, because no matter what you're doing, there's a give and take, right? It's like we said at the beginning. It's you can't keep taking from one jar and putting pennies into the other. You can't just keep taking withdrawals. You got to be putting some money
Yeah.
back in there, right? You got to be putting deposits back in there. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned along the way, is just being honest with, like, hey, how long is this going to take to get there, and then being fine with it. If it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years, right?
That
Um,
that's like in my experience, that's the best way because like I've gotten in really good shape, like I said, but then I got injured and it's like
yeah,
this was for nothing.
hmm
Now I'm having a serious setback. It's better
yeah,
to get there if it takes 3 to 4 years and you can actually get there and hold on to it for
yeah,
any amount of time. That's better than going through these ups and downs where,
yeah.
it's really depressing when you get big injuries or
Oh, it is.
shoulder rotator cuff problems or anything like that, you know, catastrophic knee injuries or whatnot. It's
hmm
better to build that strength over time. And that's kind of you can do that with anything in life, right? Like, who do I want to be in 5 years? I have a
hmm
plan.
Yeah,
Well, something comes up, I make a decision that that person would
hmm
make. And
yeah,
then before you know it, you wake up and you've accomplished a lot of your goals,
yeah, man.
right?
And yeah, for sure. And it's funny. The older we get, it seems like those 5 years come a lot quicker than they did when we were
Yeah,
younger.
man.
It's like 5 years. Oh, that was 5 years already? Wow. Right? Okay, what it's going to be for the next 5 years. And things change as we go along. And like injuries are one of those things, is like if you're at work and you fall and you break your leg, you're not, those things are out, like you can't control the uncontrollables. You're not going to be able to control
Yeah.
that. But again, like I haven't had a serious, like I have little injuries or knee pain, but I learned how to manage it, right? And I've learned that. And I think that when that's one of those biggest things I've learned from when I kind of, changed the whole trajectory of my life, was was, from then to now is just learning those. And like I haven't had a really big injury, like a long-term sustaining, suffering injury since I hurt my hip, and that was about close to 2 years ago now. Um, and it's just listening to my body. Hey, like it's that fine line, right? Am I injured or am I a pussy, right? It's that question. It's like, what is
Yeah.
it? So I'm
Yeah.
one of those. I'm one of those. I'm one of those. I'm right in the middle between those. Where am I
Yeah.
here? Where do I fit in
Yeah.
between here? Now I can keep going. I'm good. But yeah, but again, yeah, I mean, for anybody listening, and just start now. Don't start in August. Start now. Make it part of your lifestyle because you're gonna be, and I've said it on this show too. Like if you want to hunt longer, you want to be a better hunter, you got to hunt longer.
Yep.
If you can start getting in shape and you start eating healthy, drinking less, you're gonna live longer. The longer you live, the more you get to hunt. So the more animals you're
Yeah,
gonna
you
kill.
gotta fall in love with the art of training and practicing things,
Yeah,
right?
well, and that's where I feel like bow hunting really changed a lot of things for me because there's a lot to bow hunting. There's a lot to this craft that goes outside the actual hunt. It really is a lifestyle. Like archery is a lifestyle that we've adapted in this household with my kids being so big into target archery, and just the passion I have for bow hunting. It's really evolved from just a goal of killing something with a bow to, this is really cool. I want to do it again, and just chasing that adrenaline rush to being like, I'm going to be a bow hunter, and like, I'm going to change my life for my craft. And like, now it's just like a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like I train, I do all these things. Yes, I mean, I do all these things now because it obviously makes me feel better. I haven't drank in, man, over a year, well over a year, I haven't had any alcohol. Um, and I do all these things, and I kind of went down this path because of bow hunting, and it's kind of just evolved, into a lifestyle now, but it all stemmed from bow hunting.
And bow hunting is one of those things. There's few things that are so tied to effort. Like if someone's a good shot, they earn that.
Yeah,
You like you there's
you can't take it away from
there's
them.
there's no shortcuts. As
No.
soon as you put that bow down, you step away for a couple months, you're getting worse,
Hmm.
right? So you have to be it's this
Yeah, oh,
continuous
it's perishable for sure.
perishable skill that you have to be continually doing. And it is body, mind, body mechanics.
Yeah.
It is a lot more, I would say, artistic almost,
Hmm.
because there's so much mental game involved. There really isn't anything like it.
No, there isn't. No, it's yeah, and I feel, and it's funny in BC here, everyone's like, why do you bow hunt? Like, why do you
Yeah.
only hunt with a bow? And again, it's not really, it's evolved from more to than just the adrenaline of the hunt to more just a lifestyle because it stemmed from me going out chasing an animal with a bow, then getting the rush, and then being like, well, if I do all these things, then I'm going to be a better bow hunter. And then it kind of just trickled down to where like, well, these little things that I'm doing for bow hunting, they make
Yeah.
me feel better in life, right? All these little things, these transitions, all these little things I did, like these little facets of my life that I had because I was doing, that I had originally set out to make me a better bow hunter, they're kind of just trickling down into making me, yeah, I mean, it sounds corny, but just like a better person, better dad,
Hmm.
better husband, better worker, you know. 46 years old now. I'm better shape now than I was when I was 36. I have a lot more injuries, but again, it's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, that's just part of me now. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
that
can't
elbow
really get
pain
away
is
from
just
that.
there.
Yeah.
No, it's just there. Yeah.
Yeah, especially it it's funny to think of like those best hunters. They're the ones who can, I feel like, still keep in shape at a certain level for fitness, and then they got all that wisdom,
Yeah.
right? And if you can combine the two,
Hmm.
that's where you're that top tier hunter, that
Hmm.
apex
Hmm.
predator. Because when you're young,
Well,
you don't know shit. When you're
yeah.
old,
Well,
you can't get around. So,
yeah,
the longer
exactly.
you can extend
Yeah.
that period where you know some shit, and you can
Yeah.
get around, you're going to be a lot more
Yeah.
successful for
Yeah.
longer. And as we know, like elk hunting for sure, I would say it has an age limit. It
Yeah,
can
man.
if
I
you
mean,
let things
especially
go to
doing
hell.
it. I mean, if you're Casey Brooks getting it done that way, that's one thing. But I mean, if you're chasing them with, the way we do. But I mean, there's always ways of getting it done. I mean, did you see that bull that Casey Brooks killed, that world record?
Yep,
Fuck. I think it's a tank, dude. What
big
did that
boy.
score? Like 478 or something?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my God.
Just that
That thing
is
is
just the
huge.
tines because he said he had one that had a bigger frame,
Oh,
but
really?
because yeah, he had number 4 now. He had like number
I,
three,
I think he's
4.
got I think he's got
Yeah,
a few in the top
yeah,
five.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got one top number 1 and number 4, number 5.
Yeah. And
Freaking
he's just one of
insane.
those guys too, like devoted his life to hunting and bow hunting.
And you find a
Yeah.
way.
Oh yeah, and he did, right? But like I was reading a story. I don't know if I was listening to a podcast or reading it about him and that bull. And he waited like a lot of days, and it was just a regular draw tag.
Yeah,
It wasn't a governor's tag. It was just regular. Anybody can go buy a raffle tag. He put
yeah.
in, and he sat there. I think he said it was like 3 months that he put into it, like
Mm-hmm.
day in, day out, day in, day out. And then it walked in on the very last day of his hunt that he was legally allowed to hunt. His draw, that hunt ended for him that night, and he got it done just before dark. So,
Yeah, walked into
wow.
forestry.
Yeah.
Now that's a
Crazy.
hunting story.
Yeah. It's crazy, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
La-
but that takes, that's a mental grind too. Like doing that every day and being like, man, we haven't seen that bull. Where's this bull? Like, I haven't seen him. Like, it must have been on a podcast I was listening because it tells a story about like they found him, they lost him, and
yeah, they got pushed, and
then they
then
got pushed, and they got
he was on
permission to hunt on
private.
somebody's, yeah, and then he
Yeah,
got pushed. They got permission to hunt on some or private land, and good for him. Good to
yep.
see. Yeah.
Well, man, feel like that's a good spot to stop.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good
Thanks for
talk,
having
man.
me on
On
the
your show.
podcast. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's always awesome having you on the
Yeah, you're killing
show.
it. I'm I don't want to sound condescending or anything, but definitely proud of you.
Thanks,
you've
man.
taken
Appreciate
over
it.
the spot. That the podcast you've been doing, you guys have been doing really good. That podcast you did with Doug was great, and I think a lot of guys appreciate your approach and the way I mean, the knowledge you have for hunting is it's unparalleled. So I think that was kind of one of the determining factors. I was comfortable. Like I said, I started Focus Hunting podcast late 2019. So I know you and I have talked about it. It wasn't something that I just wanted to die because you got to put a lot, like, people don't appreciate how much work goes into running a podcast. Like,
Yeah.
even, like, no offense to like you and Pete when you guys were the co-hosts, it's a lot different than hosting a
Oh
podcast.
yeah.
And
I
so
just show
I
up.
know,
Hey, what's up?
yeah,
Yeah.
you click
No.
the link, you show up, and that's
Yeah.
it, right? But when you're hosting a podcast, there's a lot you have to do to line these things up. You got to edit them, you got to get them up, you got to, scheduling with guests, finding good content, then questions and all that stuff, and just keeping the conversation going. A lot of the times, when you're talking like between you and I, and we're friends and we talk all the time. So like these conversations, they kind of roll out smoothly. But when you have guests to keep people you don't know, especially,
Yeah.
right? Try to keep the listeners engaged and like kind of, you know, try to stay on topic where you think your listeners want to go to and kind of like the information you want to get out.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it seems. So you're doing a good job, buddy. And again, I'm super proud of you. And I love listening to the podcast. Love listening to the podcast I started.
Thanks, Kev. And
Yeah, buddy.
one last time, where can they find all your stuff you got going on Knock Talk?
Well, go right to focushunting.com. Everything's
Yep.
on there. There's links to YouTube stuff. So I have a YouTube channel where I'm doing the Knock Talk. All the podcasts are on there. I got a lot of informational YouTube videos on there. And then Derek, you got yours started up too, so we can get links to that up there too. But there's
Yep.
already some stuff up. There's some cool bear hunts of mucks. Muck and Landon got some pretty cool stuff
Yep.
I put up there. Yeah, we got something else coming out here. We just got to get, not mentioning any names. Look, um, we got to give them a little shove. So,
Yeah.
lots of cool stuff coming out, and hopefully, I've got quite a few articles too. I just got to edit and stuff. I've been writing some stuff on fitness, on a lot of bow tuning stuff. So we're gonna throw that up there. And I'd like to, we could probably get some long range stuff from you out there, and maybe
Yep.
throw your
For
your
sure.
mule deer article up there. It'd be
Yep.
cool. So, but everyone just go, keep checking out the focushunting.com or focushunting.ca, knocktalk.com. It's all there.
Yeah, and big shout out to Onyx Hunt. If you're getting out there to make a plan to get out there for spring bear or just making a plan for elk hunting or any draws coming up, definitely go on their website, check out what they got for plans.
Yeah.
They got some awesome stuff there.
Yeah, for sure too. It's funny too. I just went to sign into my Onyx when I was bear hunting, and I noticed my subscription was had run out, so I had to renew my subscription. But huge shout out to Onyx. They are by far and away the best mapping system. Even here in Canada, for us folks up here, I mean, they're private public boundary lines. They're just as good as any other mapping system. And I'm not taking anything away from on our iHunter. I know Mark. Mark's a great guy. It's a great product. And same with Backroads Maps. Both those guys have been on this podcast, Focus Hunting podcast, before. Both great guys, both great products. So if you are using those, great. But if you are looking for something, Onyx is by far hands and away down. Down. It's the best one I've ever used. I'll just say that.
Yeah,
I
especially
couldn't
for zones
articulate
of
what I was trying to
pressure.
say there.
Yeah.
But they're good. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say
for
they're good.
for like zones of pressure, burn history,
Yeah.
stuff like that matters on, especially if you're on public,
Yeah.
really matters.
Yeah, it does too.
Effective
And
hunt
and
plan.
especially this day and age, like with all these changes to the regs that are going to be coming out,
Yeah.
wherever you're hunting that blue dot, you can just hit the screen and it'll tell you everything that's open, when it closes, when, legal light is to start, to end your hunt, all that stuff. So get familiar with it too. It's something, I mess around with at home. I got a goat hunt coming up in August that actually Chris Perkins and we're going to be doing. So that's going to be a fun hunt. So yeah, I was actually just doing some scouting for that hunt. So yeah, I do a lot of that stuff. I still have my X spots from last bear hunting season
Yeah.
in Manitoba. So I was kind of looking at those too. Excited to go. We're leaving. When are we going there? In a couple months. So that's gonna be a fun
Yeah,
hunt
into
too.
me. Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and you got to just remember everyone else is using this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
you got to make sure that you're utilizing every tool you possibly can to create an effective hunt plan because other people are doing it, right? So
Yeah,
you got to
yeah. Well,
any
and
edge you can, right?
yeah. And the nice thing about Onyx is like those waypoints are so shareable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, sure, you can share them. You can send that pin right to other people. And like, hey, I know like Ashley and we've had hunts planned before and be like, okay, well, I'll meet you right here, and you send them a pin. I'll be right there. So when you get here, set up your stuff. The camp's right here. Send them another pin. Walk up this trailhead. I'll be right here, glass until dark. So, super easy.
And
Convenient.
exactly like what Mark Livesey was saying, like doesn't mean you just use one app. You can use a combination of different apps. Like I use Onyx, Gaia, Google Earth on the desktop, and I use iHunter too, right? So just
How is Mark doing?
he's doing he like ripped his quad or something. Like
Dude,
snowmobiling
you're gonna have
or
to get
something?
Mark. Mark's an annual guest, so you're gonna have to get Mark.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I'll have to
talk
get
him.
Mark on here, but
Get Mark on.
he's in rough shape.
When you do schedule him in, let me know because I want to hop on with you guys because Mark's a good guy. I love like just the banter that goes back and forth, and it's funny. Like we're pretty good now, like hitting record right away. But man, there's
Yeah.
a lot of times when like you miss a lot of good bantering back and forth because
Yeah.
you do these long enough and you do enough of them. It's kind of like when the red light hits, okay, well let's get down to
Get
work
down to
here.
business.
What are we
He's
talking
very
about?
good at what he does.
Yeah, he does.
He is very used to being a floating head talking.
Yeah.
It's so funny doing that last podcast with him, and then what he said about like that person's wife was like, "Oh, you're the floating head guy." That's exactly how it was in my
Yeah.
house. I had him on the
Yeah.
laptop. It was listening to these videos and his floating head talking about
Yeah.
e-scouting.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
So when you do get him back on, let me know. I'll hop on with you guys because I love Mark. He's such a good guy. Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
Hey, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate it.
thank you. Bye.
Later.